Okay, all right. Well, just so that you are not confused, this is what a client looks like. And no, I did not put this on especially for you. In fact, I went to one of our clients this morning called Pick and Pay. So that's the reason why I'm so dressed up. Otherwise, I would have been here on a Friday in my Durban slops and my T-shirts. Okay, good. Delighted to be with you today. And the topic that I would like to talk to you about is a little bit about branding. So no, we're not creatives. We're people who work with brands. That's our business. That's our livelihood. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the importance is of brands, how we look at brands at Unilver, and maybe some challenges towards the end. Brands have an incredible ability to change the way that we live, to change the world. Whether it's about happiness, there's an athlete in each and every one of us, or it's about thinking differently. And we all have been through plenty of case studies about these wonderful brands that we know have changed the way that people live around the world. When it comes to Unilver, it's in our DNA. Our company was founded over 100 years ago, somewhere in Europe, during Victorian times, when people were dying because of lack of hygiene and the likes. And here are some old pictures of some old people. Founders is what we call them. And they created brands like Sunlight, Lux, Lifebuoy, and the likes. They created brands not because they only wanted to sell more and build a business on the back of it, but also because they believed that through brands they could make an impact to some of the social and economic mishaps of Victorian England. So we believe in the power of brands. And here are some of the examples, you might recognize most of them, of brands that have a turnover of over 1 billion euro per annum. In fact, we've got close to 15 of them. Some of them actually far exceed the turnover of 1 billion euro or more. So brands is what we do. Strong brands have an incredible power to help us grow. Help us grow our business, help people grow as individuals, professionally, but also in the way that we as human beings develop. Brands are guiding us and are next to us in almost every step that we make as human beings as we grow up from childhood until we die. Brands make an incredible impact in the way that we look at life. Brands that we pull in or that we reject. Brands that help us to change the way that we behave on a regular basis. Unilver has been at branding for quite a long time. But we're delighted to show you how well we're doing, actually. So, for those of you who are in the industry of like, shit, I won a Cannes Award, well, this is good news. And I've got a couple of colleagues here who are extremely proud of the results that we've achieved at the recent Cannes Awards. So we've won more awards than any other business in our industry. We have won more awards than in any other time in our history. And what I'm extremely pleased about is that it not only are the wonderful awards, and some of them are very prestigious ones, like the Dove Titanium Award, but also the fact that we've won the Effies last year. It's the first time when someone scored so high in terms of effectiveness as well as on creativity. So, enough about the ego trip. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on. I don't know if you had a chance to read the newspaper or you went on the net, etc. You saw what was going on in the world. And it's nothing new. We are in the midst of an economic nightmare. When you look at what's going on in the world, you see countries where the youth unemployment is over 50%, like in Spain, in Greece, and the likes. And also here in our own South Africa, the official stats say something like 25.43. Well, if you really look at it, it's closer to 40. If you look at youth unemployment in South Africa, it's over 50%. Those are statistics, but if you really look at what's behind that, these are individual people, people that are part of our society, that are living on this planet, on your left and on your right, and they have to go through an unprecedented time of economic downturn and lack of opportunities. Lack of opportunities. What is going to happen to someone who's been unemployed for 10 years? What kind of life is that? It's not only that, on high unemployment, but the prospects and the cost of living, even of the people who have jobs, are incredibly under pressure. So increasingly you see inflation kicking in many places, you see the standards of living coming down in many parts of the world. And if you look a little bit further about, the way that we live as humankind on this planet, it's very clear that this is not sustainable. Whether you look from the scares here, or the weather incidents in another part of the world, or all the pollution that is going on, etc., this is very, very clear. We can't continue like the way we do. In fact, scientists might argue we already live off 1.5 planets rather than anything else. And if the emerging markets are going to continue to grow in parts of Asia, Latin America, and also here in Africa, very, very soon we'll be putting a strain on this planet that only 3 planets, in fact, are able to absorb. So there is something fundamentally changed and not always very rosy when it comes to the environment in which we operate. So at Unilver we have an ambition like any good business. And our ambition is to double the size of our company. We called this out a few years ago. But at the same time reduce our environmental impact and increase our social impact. And we've done that by calling out very, very specific targets. You can go on the net, go to any of our websites, you will see 50 targets, like good business people do. Targets that are aiming to improve the livelihoods of many, in fact 1 billion people, to improve their livelihoods in health and hygiene, to pull 1 million smallholder farmers into our value chain through farm holding programs and the likes around the world, and at the same time allowing people to become a sustainable, integral part of who we are as a business. Because we have realized that in order for us to be able to double the size of our business, we have to do that in an environment that prospers, rather than an environment that fails. We have examples in our history where we operated in countries that failed. And you know what? That's the end of business. We cannot operate in failing societies. So our ambition is more than just an economic ambition. Now, where do those brands then come in? The way that we look at brands is an integral part of our strategy to double the size of our business and make that impact that I described to you earlier on. It is through those brands that we're able to grow our business and change the nature of consumption and change the way that people look at life. So I'm going to share with you the work that has been developed by a colleague of mine here, Marc Mathieu, the SVP for marketing in Unilver globally. And it's called Crafting Brands for Life. It's a way to look at the way we manage our brands around the world. And all of our marketeers around the world, and you're talking about thousands, hundreds of them in Africa alone, have been through programs in how we look at the way we do marketing. So I'm going to share with you some of the highlights of how we do that. It's actually very simple. It's about putting people first. It's about building brand love. And it's about unlocking the magic. Putting people first. We love to talk about consumers. In my 20-odd years at Unilver, we always spoke about consumers. Consumers in focus groups, consumers in research, consumers here, consumers there, etc. As if they are not people. As if they are a cell in an Excel sheet. As if consumers can be boxed in to a piece of research that lands on a desk. And of course, that's not the case. It's about people. And in fact, it's quite sad to see that after 100 years, where our founders started off with, we have to go back to the very notion of what our brands do and do with people. Real people, you and me. In fact, when I stand up and I present to students at universities, I often get asked, tell me, why do you join a company, that makes soaps and soup? Why don't you go into fancy worlds of banking or whatever industries, etc.? And I said one of the reasons is that I actually like the realness, the reality of what it is that we do. I like the industrial nature of what we do. It's real people. So this is about putting people first, going back to what drives people, you and me, our fears, our hopes, our ambitions, everyday joys, etc. Building brand love. So we want people actually, the old model of marketing is you put a TV commercial on air and you just throw it into the audience and you hope that it sticks. And that is a model that many of you know worked so well for many years. Of course, that has changed. And you've heard that not just from me, from many others. That model has changed. People decide whether they want to pull brands into their lives or not. We can put it out there, we can do very crafty, very smart things with it, but people decide whether they will pull a brand into their lives or not. What we are seeking, what we are really after, is that people decide to take our brands into their lives because they believe in it. They believe in what the brand stands for, and they invite our brands into the way that they live. So we test, of course, brand preference. And increasingly, we're looking at whether we are not only able to achieve brand preference, but actually brand advocacy. There is no more powerful thing than when one person tells another person, this is a brand that fits with me and have a look, rather than a manufacturer, a client, throwing brands into the world. It's about unlocking the magic. And I know that I've heard it from many of you in this audience, in fact, that we've become mechanistic about how we go about marketing. When you read a brief, it ticks all the boxes, but in essence, it's lacking insights. It is lacking the realness. It is asking you to tick all the boxes and you end up with a piece of average. And the challenge that we have put on ourselves and to the industry as a whole is to actually insert back the magic, the art, the functional and the emotional part of how we go about building brands. And therefore, there's a reappraisal within our company about the artistic side, the creative side of what it takes to build great brands. There's another element to brands which is important. Brands as a force for good. So it's all right to sell. Of course we sell, we are a business. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's more than just being a business. And I want to show you something. This is what we do. We sell soap. White soap, red soap. So what? Who cares? 2 pieces of soap. We sell billions of them. Okay, 2 pieces of soap. Okay, fine, you do a great job, people buy more of that stuff. So what? Well, look beyond the color of a piece of soap. And that is what we would like you to experience now in the next couple of minutes. So 2 pieces of soap that we believe are brands that are a force for good in the world that we live in. And the first one is Dove. You've all walked in, you've seen the sketches, you might have seen it already, so let's show it one more time. what Dove is all about.
Only 4% of women think they're beautiful. To inspire the other 96% to feel the same, we conducted a social experiment. We called in an FBI-trained sketch artist. First, he sketched portraits of the women based on their own self-descriptions.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
Then, he sketched the same women based on descriptions by strangers who had met the women briefly.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
Finally, we revealed the two sketches to the women themselves.
This is the sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you.
Yeah, that's... The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy.
Our experiment generated 2 films, 8 individual short films, and an online exhibit of the sketches. The sketches visual became the icon of the campaign, used on print and out of home as thumbnails to encourage social media sharing and illustrate articles in mass media publications. This gave cohesion to all the media touchpoints around the lead film that ran on TV and cinema.
Very pretty girl, and this actually is what Beth looked like.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you see how Beth described herself.
One campaign is fighting to show women all over the globe they are more beautiful than they think.
And it's incredible, you know, when you look at the contrast between how someone on the left, you'll see here in a second, describe themselves, and then how they actually are.
เพราะฉะนั้นผลสำรวจนี้คุณรู้ไหมว่ามีผู้หญิงแค่ 2% เท่านั้นค่ะ 2% เท่านั้นที่บอกว่า
Finally this week, this comment from Dove Beauty Soap. The brand claims that women are their own worst beauty critics. Only 4% around the world consider themselves beautiful. So the brand conducted a compelling social experiment that explores how women view their own beauty.
This advertisement, it speaks to that very universal feeling women have that they are not just not as perfect as they would like to be.
Fascinated by the social experiment, we decided to conduct our own comparative sketches.
The sharing and buzz of social media quickly made the headlines of mass media publications all over the world. The latest Dove phenomenon has created its own success as the #1 viewed online commercial ad of all time. 145 million views so far, 3rd most shared campaign in the digital space, most shared article in the history of Mashable, 4.2 billion media impressions, and still growing. Most importantly, it made real beauty a global topic of conversation again.
So it's quite something, huh? And let me make it very personal. I've got an 11-year-old daughter who's starting to explore what beauty means as a young girl. I'm extremely proud as a father to be involved in this kind of stuff. All right, remember, white bar. Now I'm going to go to the red bar. Still soap. Another example. Lifebuoy, a brand that many of you know, is on a mission. It's on a mission trying to save lives where it matters.
வண்ணம் என் மகன் வளருகிறான் உள்ளங்களிலே இன்பம் பெருகிட மனதில் நிறைகின்றான் மனதில் நிறைகின்றான் தாயும் தந்தையும் விரும்புவதெல்லாம் ஒன்னேதானுங்க ஐயா ஒன்னேதானுங்க கண்ணுக்கு கண்ணான தான் பெத்த பிள்ளை துள்ளி விளையாடியே மனதை மகிழ செய்யணுங்க மகிழ செய்யணுங்க மகிழ செய்யணுங்க தெய்வம் தந்த செல்வமையா நான் பெற்ற செல்வமையா ஆரோக்கியமும் அறிவும் பெற்று வளர்ந்துட்டானையா மனம் மகிழ்ந்தோமையா நாமே மனம் மகிழ்ந்தோமையா இந்த மகிழ்ச்சியின் வேதனை எதுவும் மறந்திடும் ஐயா ஐயா நாளொரு மேனியும் பொழுதொரு வண்ணம் என் மகன் வளருகிறான் உள்ளங்களிலே இன்பம் பெருகிட மனதில் நிறைகின்றான் மனதில் நிறைகின்றான்
मेरा बच्चा 5 साल का हो गया।
इतना सब 5 साल में कौन सी बड़ी बात है?
बड़ी बात है मैडम, ये गुंडापा का पहला बच्चा है जो 5 साल की उम्र तक पहुंचा है।
क्या?
मेरा बच्चा 5 साल का हो गया।
ये गुंडापा का पहला बच्चा है जो 5 साल की उम्र तक पहुंचा है।
Can't really say anything. I'm sorry.
For a father, it's very important that his son lives. 5 years may be a number, but he can't imagine his son die before him, right?
It's far too many. It's 2 million too many.
It's a matter of hygiene. It's a matter of cleanliness. It's just a matter of washing your hands.
To think that a child's not going to reach the age of 5 because of it.
I can't imagine not having a son. They make our life so pleasing, so happy.
My daughter means everything to me.
Lifeguard is doing an absolutely fabulous job by starting out on this journey.
It's fantastic to make people aware.
As a mom, as a parent, I want to support this cause.
It was a very touching video. I'm going to share it with all my friends, and I'm going to ask them and make me promise that they're going to share it further.
We're going to spread the word and to get people washing their hands.
We're going to wash our hands together every day. I hope everybody's kids live maybe 100 years. You know?
We just need to teach.
Okay. So of the 2 million children who die every year, half of them are on this continent in Africa. And yesterday we were with some of our colleagues and we committed ourselves to make sure that over the next 3 years we will reach 100 million children in Africa with the message of Lifebuoy and hand washing and how it can improve their lives. So let's bring it closer to home, right? Right here in South Africa. Open the newspaper. What do you read? You read very much of the same things. You know, so I just wrote down a couple of things which are related to my challenge to the industry. And the industry is you and me and everyone in this room. We are the ones, whether it's brand owners or people who work to create brands, to craft brands, that do shape society in the way that people go about the nature of consumption and how we view the world. So the challenge to us as an industry is to take the same thing to South Africa and Africa at large. If you take unsecured lending, I'll just take a few. Unsecured lending in South Africa has reached incredible proportions. This morning at Pick n Pay, they were explaining to us that people at the moment, when they get their grants, the first thing they do, they run to the loan sharks. They don't go and buy basic stuff that people need. They go to the loan shark because they are rolling over their debt. So there's irresponsible financial behavior everywhere. South Africa is the third most obese country on the planet. So what are our brands doing? What are financial brands doing? What are the food and beverage brands doing to change the nature of consumption? It is something that we as an industry, people who are experts and involved in branding, need to take to heart. So how can creative South Africa be part of the solution rather than perpetuate something that is going wrong? So please, let's create more brands with purpose. Brands that do well economically, socially, and make a lasting impact on the society in which we live. And I want to thank you, but before that, I'm going to play one more video. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Smith. I've been a forensic artist for the LAPD for over 25 years.
We showed up to a place we had never been, and there was a guy there with a drafting board. We couldn't see them, they couldn't see us.
Tell me about your eyes.
I would say the older I've gotten, the more stunning I've gotten. I would say I have a balanced face. Almost like a white Denzel Washington.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and they leave.
Wow.
This is a sketch you helped me create, and this is a sketch that someone else described of you.
Yeah, he looks like a movie star, and looks like he'll probably die soon.
I never realized that two opinions could be so vastly different.
That is not me, and I refuse to believe it.